The Galactic Conundrum. The vast expanse of space had never seemed so crowded. As Captain Elena Rodriguez gazed out of the viewport of the UES Intrepid, she marveled at the swirling colors of the Andromeda Nebula, a stark backdrop to the bustling space traffic around her. It had been just 50 years since humanity had stumbled upon the secret to faster-than-light travel, and in that short time, they had found themselves thrust into a complex galactic society that had existed for millennia. The Intrepid, Earth's newest and most advanced diplomatic vessel, glided smoothly towards the massive structure floating in the nebula's heart, the Galactic Conclave. This colossal space station, home to representatives from over 1,000 species, was where the fate of entire civilizations was decided. Today, it would be the stage for humanity's greatest challenge yet. As Elena made her way to the shuttle bay, her comm device chirped. "Captain, we've received clearance to dock," her XO, Commander Rajpatal, reported. "The Artaxian delegation is already waiting." Elena nodded, a grim smile playing on her lips. The Artaxians, humanity's first, and so far only, allies in this vast cosmic sea. They were an old race respected for their wisdom and technological prowess. Their support had been crucial in humanity's rapid integration into galactic society. As the shuttle detached from the Intrepid and made its way towards the conclave, Elena couldn't help but feel a sense of trepidation. The reason for this emergency session was grave. A new threat had emerged on the galactic stage, one that had the entire conclave in an uproar. The shuttle docked with a soft thud, and Elena stepped out into the cavernous main hall of the Galactic Conclave. The cacophony of 1,000 different languages assaulted her ears, a babble of worried voices discussing the impending crisis. Ambassador Jor, the Artaxian representative, hurried over to greet her. His iridescent scales shimmered under the hall's bright lights, and his 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of stress in his species. "Captain Rodriguez," he said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into smooth English. "Thank the stars you're here. The situation has escalated far beyond our worst fears." Elena fell into step beside him as they made their way towards the central chamber. "Tell me, Jor, what exactly are we dealing with?" The Artaxian's eyes darted around nervously before he leaned in close. "They call themselves the Zephyrians, a species previously unknown to the Conclave. They appeared at the edges of known space 3 standard months ago. At first, we thought they were merely another race seeking to join our galactic community." They paused at the entrance to the central chamber, a massive amphitheater where representatives from every known spacefaring race gathered. "But," Elena prompted. "But they're not here to join us, Captain," Jor said, his voice barely above a whisper. "They're here to conquer. In the past week alone, they've obliterated 3 planetary systems, billions dead, and our weapons, they seem useless against their technology." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Humanity was still new to this galactic stage, their technology primitive compared to many of the races gathered here. If the combined might of the Conclave couldn't stand against these Zephyrians, what hope did Earth have? As they entered the chamber, a hush fell over the assembled representatives. All eyes turned to Elena, the human, the newcomer, the representative of a species that many still viewed with a mixture of curiosity and dismissal. The moderator, a towering, ethereal being of pure energy, floated at the center of the chamber. Its voice, when it spoke, seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Representatives of the Galactic Conclave," it intoned, "we face a crisis unprecedented in our long history. The Zephyrian threat grows with each passing moment. We have gathered here to determine our response." A cacophony of voices erupted, each representative shouting their proposed solution. Some called for immediate military action, others for attempts at diplomacy. A few even suggested surrendering, hoping to appease the Zephyrians' appetite for conquest. Through it all, Elena remained silent, her mind racing. Earth had faced existential threats before: climate change, nuclear war, artificial intelligence. Each time, Humanity had pulled through, often in ways that defied expectations. Could they do it again, on this cosmic scale? The debate raged for hours, with no clear consensus emerging. The Zephyrians' technology seemed to render conventional weapons useless, and their motives remained a mystery. Attempts at communication had been met with silence, followed by devastating attacks. As the session neared its end, the moderator turned its attention to Alina. "And what say the humans? You are new to our galactic community, yet you have shown remarkable adaptability. What solution do you propose?" Alina felt the weight of 1,000 alien gazes upon her. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Honored representatives of the conclave," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "Humanity has faced its share of existential threats. We've stared into the abyss of our own extinction more than once. Each time, we've survived not through overwhelming force or advanced technology, but through innovation, cooperation, and an unwavering will to survive." She paused, looking around the chamber. "We may be newcomers to this galactic stage, but we bring with us a unique perspective. Where you see hopelessness, we see possibility. Where you see certain defeat, we see a challenge to overcome." Murmurs rippled through the assembly, some dismissive, others intrigued. Alina pressed on. "I propose a joint task force, one that combines the conclave's advanced technology with humanity's unconventional thinking. Give us a chance to study the Zephyrian threat, to find weaknesses where others see only invincibility. We may surprise you." The chamber erupted into discussion. The moderator raised its appendages, calling for order. "An interesting proposal, Captain Rodriguez. But can your species truly offer anything against a threat that has confounded even our most advanced civilizations?" Before Alina could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a terrifying sight. A massive fleet of ships, unlike anything Alina had ever seen, had appeared at the edge of the system. Their designs were organic, almost alive, pulsing with an eerie, otherworldly energy. The Zephyrians had arrived. Panic spread through the chamber. Representatives rushed to contact their homeworlds, to mobilize whatever defenses they had. But Alina stood her ground, her eyes fixed on the alien armada. This was it, the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. As fear and chaos swirled around her, Alina felt a strange calm settle over her. They had faced extinction before. They would face it again. And they would survive. As the Zephyrian ships advanced, their ominous forms growing larger on the view screen, Alina turned to Ambassador Jor. "It looks like we'll have to skip the bureaucracy," she said, a determined glint in her eye. "Tell me, Ambassador, how quickly can we assemble that task force?" Jor's eyes blinked rapidly, a mix of fear and newfound respect evident in his gaze. "You humans truly are something else," he said. "I'll make the arrangements immediately." As they rushed out of the chamber, preparing to face an enemy that outmatched them in every conceivable way, Alina couldn't help but smile. Humanity had just been thrust onto the biggest stage imaginable, facing a threat that endangered not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. It was time to show the universe what humans were truly capable of. The unlikely alliance. The next few hours were a blur of frantic activity. As the Zephyrian fleet approached, the galactic conclave transformed from a forum of debate into a war room. Species that had been at odds for centuries now worked side by side, united by the common threat looming on their doorstep. At the center of this organized chaos stood Captain Alina Rodriguez, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the panic around her. She had seen this before. Not on this scale, of course, but the fundamentals were the same. Humanity had a knack for pulling together in the face of existential threats. "Captain," Commander Raj Patel's voice crackled through her comm, "the UES Intrepid is ready for action. We've integrated the Artaxian shield modifications, but we're still not sure how they'll hold up against Zephyrian weapons." Alina nodded, even though Raj couldn't see her. "Understood, Commander. Keep the ship at yellow alert. We may need to move quickly. She turned to Ambassador Jor, who was coordinating with other conclave races. Ambassador, what's the status of our task force? Jor's scales rippled with a mix of colors, anxiety, determination, and a hint of hope. We've assembled a fleet of 50 ships, Captain. It's not much against the Zephyrian Armada, but it's the best we could do on short notice. The Artaxians have contributed our most advanced battle cruisers, and several other races have offered their support. Elena allowed herself a small smile. It wasn't much, but it was a start. And what about our proposal? Have we gotten clearance to attempt communication? The Artaxian ambassador nodded, his 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession. Yes, though many think it's a fool's errand. The Zephyrians have ignored all previous attempts at contact. Sometimes, Elena said, her voice firm, all it takes is the right words at the right time. Let's hope we can find them. As they made their way to the command center, Elena couldn't help but marvel at the diversity around her. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions worked together, their differences set aside in the face of a common enemy. It was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. A glimpse of what humanity could aspire to, and what they stood to lose. The command center was a massive, circular room dominated by a holographic display of the local space. The Zephyrian fleet, represented by ominous red icons, was steadily advancing towards the conclave station. Elena took her place at one of the communication stations, Jor beside her. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. Open a channel to the Zephyrian fleet, she ordered. For a moment, nothing happened. The tension in the room was palpable, every being holding their breath. Then suddenly, the holographic display flickered, and a new image appeared. The being that materialized before them was unlike anything Elena had ever seen. It seemed to shift and flow, its form never quite settling into a definite shape. Multiple eyes, or what Elena assumed were eyes, blinked and swirled across its surface. When it spoke, its voice resonated not through the air, but directly in their minds. You dare to address us, insignificant creatures. The Zephyrians' thoughts boomed in their heads. Your existence is an affront to the purity of the cosmos. We are here to cleanse it. Elena felt a chill run down her spine, but she refused to show fear. I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of Earth, representing the Galactic Conclave. We seek peaceful dialogue. The Zephyrian's form pulsed with what could only be described as contempt. Peace. There can be no peace while lesser beings pollute the galaxy with their primitive thoughts and base desires. You will be eradicated, and the universe will be better for it. Before Elena could respond, the communication cut off. The holographic display returned to showing the advancing fleet, now moving with increased speed. Jor turned to Elena, his scales a pale, sickly color. I've never encountered such hostility, such certainty in their superiority. Captain, what do we do? Elena's mind raced. The Zephyrians' response had been even more aggressive than she'd anticipated. But in their arrogance, they had revealed something crucial. Their motivations, their worldview. It wasn't much, but it was a start. We fight, Elena said, her voice carrying across the command center. Not just with ships and weapons, but with every tool at our disposal. Knowledge, innovation, determination. These are humanity's greatest strengths, and now we'll use them to save not just ourselves, but every sentient being in this galaxy. She turned to the assembled representatives. The Zephyrians see us as lesser beings, incapable of rising to their level. Let's prove them wrong. I need every scrap of information we have on their technology, their tactics, their biology. Anything that might give us an edge. The command center burst into action. Scientists, tacticians, and diplomats from 100 different species began pooling their knowledge, looking for any weakness they could exploit. As the preparations continued, Elena felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see a small insectoid being. A Vexillion, if she remembered correctly. Its mandibles clicked rapidly as it spoke through a translator. Captain Rodriguez, I couldn't help but overhear your strategy. I believe I may have information that could be of use." Elena's eyes widened. "Go on." The Vexillian's antennae twitched nervously. "My people, we are not warriors. We are observers, collectors of knowledge. For centuries, we have cataloged the histories and technologies of countless civilizations, including some that no longer exist." Understanding dawned on Elena. "You've encountered the Zephyrians before." "Not directly," the Vexillian clarified. "But we have records, ancient ones, of a species that matches their description. They appeared suddenly, as they did now, and vanished just as quickly, but not before leaving entire sectors of space lifeless." Elena felt a mix of dread and hope. What happened to them? Why did they leave? The Vexillian's compound eyes seemed to shimmer. "We don't know for certain, but our records suggest they encountered something that challenged their belief in their own superiority. A species that refused to be eradicated, that fought back in ways the Zephyrians couldn't comprehend." A plan began to form in Elena's mind. It was risky, perhaps even foolhardy, but it might be their only chance. She turned to Jor, who had been listening intently to the conversation. "Ambassador, how quickly can we get a small team onto a Zephyrian ship?" Jor's scales rippled with shock. "Onto a captain, that's suicide. Their defenses, their technology, it's beyond anything we've ever encountered." Elena's eyes blazed with determination. "Exactly. They don't expect anyone to be foolish enough to try, which is why it might just work." She outlined her plan quickly. A small team, using a combination of Artaxian cloaking technology and human ingenuity, would infiltrate a Zephyrian vessel. Their goal, to gather intelligence, to find any weakness they could exploit, and if possible, to establish communication on a more personal level. "We need to understand them," Elena explained. "Not just their technology, but their culture, their thought processes. If we can do that, we might find a way to stop this war before it begins." The plan was met with a mix of disbelief and cautious hope. It was dangerous, perhaps even impossible, but in the face of certain annihilation, impossible seemed like a risk worth taking. As the conclave mobilized to put the plan into action, Elena found herself back on the bridge of the UES Intrepid. Commander Patel stood beside her, his face a mask of concern. "Captain, are you sure about this?" "The risks." Elena nodded, her gaze fixed on the looming Zephyrian fleet. "The risks of doing nothing are far greater, Raj. Humanity has always pushed boundaries, explored the unknown. It's what brought us to the stars. Now it might be what saves us all." As the Intrepid moved into position, ready to launch the covert mission, Elena felt the weight of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy on her shoulders. They were about to attempt something unprecedented, to reach out to a species that saw them as nothing more than vermin to be exterminated. But as she looked around at her crew, humans working seamlessly alongside aliens, united in purpose, she felt a surge of hope. They had come this far, defied the odds time and time again. Whatever the Zephyrians threw at them, humanity would face it head-on. The mission was a go. As the stealth shuttle detached from the Intrepid, carrying a mixed team of humans and aliens towards the heart of the Zephyrian fleet, Elena whispered a quiet prayer to the vastness of space. "Let our humanity be our strength." The first move in this cosmic chess game had been made. Now, all they could do was wait, hope, and prepare for whatever came next. Echoes of resistance. The tension on the bridge of the UES Intrepid was palpable. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the progress of the stealth shuttle. Beside her, Commander Raj Patel monitored the communications, ready to respond at a moment's notice. "Shuttle Icarus has breached the outer defenses of the Zephyrian flagship," Raj reported, his voice low and tense. "No signs of detection, yet." Elena nodded, allowing herself a small breath of relief. The first hurdle had been cleared, but the real challenge was just beginning. The fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy, rested on the shoulders of the small team aboard that shuttle. The team was a carefully selected mix of species, each chosen for their unique skills and knowledge. Leading them was Lieutenant Sarah Chen, one of Earth's most brilliant xenobiologists and a tactical prodigy. Alongside her were Zix, an Artaxian tech specialist, and Krell, a Vexillian historian with unparalleled knowledge of ancient galactic lore. As the shuttle docked with the Zephyrian vessel, Alina couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of their situation. Humanity, barely a century into its journey among the stars, was now at the forefront of a mission to save the galaxy from an incomprehensible threat. "Captain," Raj's voice cut through her thoughts, "we're receiving a transmission from the Artaxian homeworld. It's not good." Alina's heart sank as she took in the news. The Zephyrians, it seemed, had launched a simultaneous attack on multiple fronts. The Artaxian homeworld, with its advanced defenses and millennia of technological development, had fallen in a matter of hours. How? Alina breathed, struggling to comprehend the scale of the devastation. Their defenses were supposed to be impenetrable. Ambassador Jor, who had insisted on remaining aboard the Intrepid, stepped forward. His scales had turned a deep mournful blue. The Zephyrians, they didn't just attack with ships and weapons. They unleashed something else, a kind of psychic assault. Our people, they just gave up. Millions surrendered without a fight. The implications were staggering. The Zephyrians weren't just technologically superior. They possessed powers that defied conventional understanding. The stakes of their mission had just been raised exponentially. "Captain," Raj interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the shuttle." Alina straightened, pushing aside her shock and grief. There would be time to mourn later. For now, they had a job to do. "Put it through." Lieutenant Chen's voice crackled over the comm, barely above a whisper. "Captain, we're inside. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. The ship, it's alive. Not just biomechanical. It's a single sentient organism." Alina exchanged glances with Jor. This was unprecedented. "What about the Zephyrians? Have you made contact?" There was a pause, filled only by the sound of labored breathing. When Chen spoke again, her voice was filled with a mix of awe and terror. "They're everywhere and nowhere, Captain. They exist as pure energy, flowing through the ship like blood through veins. We can feel them, their thoughts brushing against our minds. It's taking everything we have to shield ourselves." "Have they detected you?" Alina asked, dreading the answer. "We don't think so," Chen replied. "They're distracted. Something's happening. We can feel a surge of excitement, anticipation. They're planning something big, Captain." Before Alina could respond, alarms blared across the Intrepid's bridge. Raj's fingers flew across his console, his face paling. "Captain, we're picking up massive energy signatures. Thousands of Zephyrian ships, appearing out of nowhere. They're heading for Earth." The bottom dropped out of Alina's stomach. This was it, the moment they had feared since the Zephyrians first appeared. Earth, with its limited defenses and relatively primitive technology, was about to face the full might of an enemy that had brought the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy to their knees. But as the weight of the situation settled on her shoulders, Alina felt something else rising within her, a fierce determination, a refusal to accept defeat. It was the same spirit that had driven humanity to overcome every obstacle in its path, from the first steps out of Africa to the leap into the stars. "Lieutenant Chen," Alina said, her voice steady and resolute, "your mission has changed. We need intel, and we need it now. Anything you can find about their plans, their weaknesses, anything we can use to defend Earth." "Understood, Captain," Chen replied, her own voice hardening with resolve. "We'll find something. Humanity isn't going down without a fight." As the communication cut off, Alina turned to her crew. She saw fear in their eyes, yes, but also determination, a readiness to face whatever came next. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. Tell them the storm is coming. But also tell them this: Humanity has faced extinction before. We've stared into the abyss and pulled ourselves back from the brink. And we'll do it again." She paused, looking each crew member in the eye. The Zephyrians think they're superior, that their evolution into energy beings makes them unstoppable. But they've forgotten something crucial: the power of the physical world, the strength that comes from having something tangible to fight for. Our bodies aren't a weakness. They're a reminder of what we're fighting for. Every breath, every heartbeat, is an act of defiance against those who would see us erased. As her words sank in, Alina saw the fear in her crew's eyes transform into something else: hope, determination, the unbreakable human spirit that had carried their species through countless trials. "We are going to show the Zephyrians, and the entire galaxy, what humanity is truly capable of," Alina continued. "We'll use every tool at our disposal, our technology, yes, but also our creativity, our adaptability, our sheer stubborn refusal to give up. We'll find a way to stop them, not just for ourselves, but for every species that calls this galaxy home." The bridge erupted in a chorus of determined affirmations. As the crew sprang into action, preparing for the battle to come, Alina turned back to the view screen. The Zephyrian fleet loomed large, a seemingly insurmountable force. But humanity had faced impossible odds before. They had survived ice ages and asteroids, plagues and world wars. They had looked up at the stars and dared to reach them. And now, with those same stars as their battlefield, they would fight with everything they had. As the Intrepid moved to take its place in the defensive line forming around Earth, Alina felt a strange calm settle over her. The next few hours would determine the fate of her species, perhaps of all sentient life in the galaxy. But she was ready. They all were. The Zephyrians were about to learn a crucial lesson: never underestimate the human spirit. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Lieutenant Chen and her team moved silently through the living corridors. The ship pulsed around them, every surface alive and aware. They could feel the Zephyrians' thoughts pressing against their minds, a constant barrage of alien consciousness that threatened to overwhelm them. But they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that they were Earth's best hope. As they delved deeper into the heart of the ship, they began to uncover fragments of the Zephyrians' plan, and with it, a glimmer of hope. The Zephyrians, for all their power, had a weakness: their evolution into energy beings, while granting them immense abilities, had also left them vulnerable in ways they didn't even realize. And as Chen pieced together the information, a plan began to form. It was risky, perhaps even suicidal. But as the first waves of the Zephyrian fleet approached Earth, ready to unleash devastation on a scale never before seen, Chen knew they had no choice. She activated her comm, praying the signal would reach the Intrepid through the living walls of the Zephyrian ship. "Captain Rodriguez," she whispered, "I think we found a way to stop them. But you're not going to like it." As Chen outlined her plan, Alina felt a mix of hope and dread. It was audacious, borderline insane, and possibly their only chance of survival. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity was about to show the galaxy why you should never, ever count them out. The Zephyrian Gambit. The skies above Earth churned with activity as the combined fleet of the Galactic Conclave took up defensive positions. It was a sight that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago. Ships of 1,000 different designs, crewed by beings from across the galaxy, all united in defense of a planet many had never even heard of before humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. At the heart of this defensive line, the UES Intrepid stood ready. On its bridge, Captain Alina Rodriguez surveyed the battlefield, her mind racing as she considered Lieutenant Chen's audacious plan. "It's insane," Commander Raj Patel said, voicing the thought that hung heavy in the air. "Using the Zephyrians' own energy against them. We'd be risking everything on a theory." Alina nodded, her expression grim. "A theory based on the most thorough analysis we've ever had of Zephyrian technology. It's a risk, yes, but right now, it's the only card we have left to play." She turned to Ambassador Jor, whose scales had taken on a pale, determined hue. Ambassador, we'll need the support of the entire Conclave fleet for this to work. Can you convince them? Jor's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of deep thought. It will not be easy, Captain. Many still see humanity as newcomers, barely out of their cosmic cradle. But he paused, his gaze sweeping across the bridge crew, taking in their determined faces. But perhaps that is exactly what we need. A new perspective, unburdened by millennia of established thinking. As Jor moved to contact the Conclave leadership, Alina turned back to the view screen. The first wave of the Zephyrian fleet had appeared, their ships seeming to materialize out of the very fabric of space itself. They were beautiful in their alienness, all flowing lines and pulsing energy, a stark contrast to the utilitarian designs of the Conclave ships. All hands, battle stations, Alina ordered, her voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. This is not a drill. We are about to engage in the fight of our lives, not just for Earth, but for every sentient being in the galaxy. As klaxons blared and crew members rushed to their positions, Alina allowed herself a moment of reflection. How strange that humanity, so new to this vast galactic community, now stood as its last, best hope. But then again, wasn't that always humanity's role? To defy expectations, to find solutions where others saw only problems. The comm crackled to life, Lieutenant Chen's voice coming through with an urgency that cut through the chaos of pre-battle preparations. Captain, we've managed to access more of the Zephyrian ship's systems. They're not just planning to destroy Earth. They're going to use it as a power source, to fuel their transformation of the entire galaxy. Alina's blood ran cold. Explain, Lieutenant. The Zephyrians, Chen continued, her voice tight with controlled panic. They don't just want to eliminate what they see as lesser life forms. They want to convert all matter in the galaxy into energy, their kind of energy. And Earth, with its diverse biosphere and unique magnetic field, is the perfect catalyst to start the process. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a war for survival. It was a fight for the very nature of existence itself. Alina's mind raced, connecting dots, formulating strategies. Lieutenant, your plan to use their energy against them, can we scale it up? Make it affect not just a single ship, but their entire fleet. There was a pause, filled only by the sound of rapid breathing and the distant hum of the living Zephyrian ship. It's possible, Chen finally replied. But Captain, the amount of energy required, we'd need to channel the output of a small star. Alina's gaze snapped to Earth, shining blue and green against the backdrop of space. Not a star, but a planet teeming with life, with energy. An idea began to form, dangerous, perhaps even reckless, but potentially their only hope. What if we used Earth itself? Alina asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Channel its magnetic field, its core energy, and turn it into a weapon. The silence that followed was deafening. It was Raj who finally broke it, his voice a mix of awe and terror. Captain, if we do that, we risk destroying Earth ourselves. The strain on the planet's systems would be catastrophic. Alina closed her eyes, feeling the weight of billions of lives, human and alien alike, pressing down on her. When she opened them again, they blazed with determination. If we do nothing, Earth and every other living world in the galaxy is doomed anyway. At least this way, we go down fighting. She turned to her communications officer. Get me a direct line to every world leader, every military commander on Earth. We need global cooperation on a scale never before seen in human history. As the orders were relayed and the impossible plan set in motion, the first shots of the battle were fired. Zephyrian energy beams lanced out, cutting through Conclave ships like paper. The defensive line buckled but held, years of distrust between species set aside in the face of annihilation. On Earth, a miracle of cooperation was unfolding. Power grids were rerouted, geothermal plants pushed to their limits, and every device capable of generating an electromagnetic field was brought online. The planet itself was being turned into a weapon in a desperate gambit to save not just humanity, but all life as they knew it. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Lieutenant Chen and her team worked feverishly. They had managed to isolate a subsystem, a weak point in the Zephyrian's energy network. If they could introduce Earth's combined electromagnetic pulse at just the right moment, through just the right channel, they might be able to create a cascading failure throughout the entire Zephyrian fleet. As the battle raged around them, as planets burned and stars were snuffed out, humanity prepared to make its stand. They had come to the precipice of annihilation, but they would not go quietly. They would rage against the dying of the light, and in doing so, they might just save the universe. Elena stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, watching as the Zephyrian fleet closed in. Earth glowed behind them, every watt of power it could generate ready to be unleashed in one desperate, all-or-nothing gambit. "Lieutenant Chen," Elena said, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "On my mark. Initiate the pulse." "Ready, Captain," came the reply, tinged with static and the strange, alien harmonics of the Zephyrian ship. Elena took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history, of the entire galaxy, pressing down on this single moment. "For Earth," she whispered, "for life itself. Mark." In that instant, several things happened at once. The Zephyrian fleet, poised to begin their transformation of Earth, unleashed a torrent of energy unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. At the same time, Earth itself seemed to pulse, channeling every erg of power it could muster through the relay system Chen and her team had jury-rigged aboard the Zephyrian flagship. The two waves of energy met in a cataclysmic clash, a silent explosion that lit up the solar system brighter than a supernova. For a moment, it seemed as though reality itself was tearing apart, the fabric of space-time buckling under the strain. And then silence, a silence so profound it seemed to swallow the very stars. As the blinding light faded, Elena blinked, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. The Zephyrian fleet, it was still there, but changed. The ships hung motionless in space, their once fluid forms now crystallized, like insects trapped in amber. "Report," Elena croaked, her voice hoarse. I don't believe it," Raj said, his eyes wide as he scanned the readings. "The pulse. It didn't just stop them, Captain. It solidified them. Their energy forms, they'd been crystallized." Before Elena could respond, a new voice cut through the stunned silence of the bridge. It was Chen, her words coming in a rush of disbelief and hope. "Captain, you need to see this. The Zephyrians, they're not dead. They're transforming." As Elena watched, the crystallized Zephyrian ships began to shimmer, their forms shifting and changing. It was as if they were evolving before her very eyes, taking on new shapes, new states of being. "My God," Ambassador Jor whispered, his scales cycling through a rainbow of colors. "We didn't just stop them. We changed them, forced them to adapt, to find a new way of existing." Elena stared at the shimmering forms of the former Zephyrian fleet, her mind struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what had just happened. They had taken the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known, and, in one desperate act, transformed it into something entirely new. As the realization of their victory began to sink in, as cheers erupted across the conclave fleet and on Earth below, Elena felt a profound sense of awe. Humanity, in its first true test on the galactic stage, had not just survived, they had reshaped the very nature of their enemy. The battle was over, but Elena knew that the real work was just beginning. They had changed the Zephyrians, yes, but into what? And how would this transformation reshape the galaxy they had fought so hard to protect? As the Intrepid moved to investigate the transformed Zephyrian fleet, Elena squared her shoulders. Whatever came next, humanity had proven itself. They had faced the impossible and emerged not just victorious, but transformative. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity. Triumph of the human spirit. The days following the battle were a blur of activity, filled with equal parts celebration and trepidation. As news of humanity's pivotal role in saving the galaxy spread, Earth found itself at the center of galactic attention. Ships from 1,000 worlds arrived in the solar system, some offering thanks, others seeking to understand the species that had accomplished the impossible. On the bridge of the UES Intrepid, Captain Elena Rodriguez stood before a gathering of the highest-ranking officials from the Galactic Conclave. The ship, still bearing the scars of battle, had become a symbol of humanity's ingenuity and courage. Captain Rodriguez, began the moderator, its energy form pulsing with what Elena had come to recognize as respect. The Conclave owes you and your species a debt that can never be fully repaid. Your actions have not only saved countless lives, but have fundamentally altered the course of galactic history. Elena nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Thank you, moderator. But the credit belongs not just to me, but to every being who stood against the Zephyrian threat. This victory was achieved through cooperation and the combining of our unique strengths. Ambassador Jor stepped forward, his scales shimmering with a mix of colors that Elena now understood represented profound emotion. Indeed, Captain, and it is that spirit of cooperation that we must now embrace as we face the challenges ahead. The challenges were indeed daunting. The transformed Zephyrians, no longer a threat but not yet allies, presented a unique diplomatic and scientific puzzle. Early communications had revealed a species grappling with a complete paradigm shift, their once singular purpose now replaced with uncertainty and, surprisingly, curiosity. We've received requests from the Zephyrian leadership, if we can still call them that, for a meeting, reported Commander Rajpatal. They want to understand what happened to them. And they want to learn from us. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. The beings that had once viewed all other life as inferior now sought guidance from those they had tried to eradicate. And what of Earth? Asked a representative from a distant sector of the galaxy. The energy pulse that defeated the Zephyrians. It must have had consequences for your homeworld. Elena's expression grew somber. Yes, there were consequences. Significant portions of our power grid were overloaded. Climate patterns have been disrupted. We're facing years, perhaps decades of recovery work. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembled aliens. But we've faced global challenges before. We'll overcome this one too, and we'll be stronger for it. As the meeting continued, discussing plans for galactic reconstruction and the integration of the transformed Zephyrians, Elena found her thoughts drifting to Lieutenant Sarah Chen and her team. Their bravery aboard the Zephyrian flagship had been crucial to their victory. As if summoned by her thoughts, Chen's voice came through the comm system. Captain, we've made a breakthrough in communicating with the transformed Zephyrians. They're asking to help with Earth's recovery efforts. A murmur of surprise rippled through the gathered officials. Elena felt a smile tugging at her lips. Well, Lieutenant, it seems our former enemies are eager to make amends. Let's see what they have to offer. As the meeting adjourned and plans were set in motion, Elena made her way to the Intrepid's observation deck. Earth hung in the viewport, beautiful despite the visible scars of their desperate gambit. Around it, ships of all shapes and sizes moved in complex patterns, a dance of cooperation and rebuilding. Quite a view, isn't it? Came a voice from behind her. Elena turned to see Ambassador Jor approaching, his movements careful in the human-design ship. It certainly is, Elena agreed. I never imagined I'd see anything like this in my lifetime. Jor's eyes blinked in rapid succession, a gesture Elena had come to associate with deep thought. You humans continue to surprise us, Captain. Many species, when faced with a threat like the Zephyrians, would have retreated, tried to save themselves. But you fought not just for your own survival, but for the entire galaxy. Elena shrugged, a very human gesture that made Jor's scales ripple in amusement. It's who we are, Ambassador. Throughout our history, we've always found strength in standing up for others, in fighting for what's right, even when the odds seem impossible. An admirable trait, Jor mused, and one that I believe will serve your species well in the role you now find yourselves in. Elena raised an eyebrow. Role? Surely you realize, Captain, that your actions have catapulted humanity to the forefront of galactic affairs. Many are already calling for Earth to take a leading role in the conclave, to help shape the future of our galactic community. The implications of Jor's words hit Elena like a physical force. Humanity, barely out of its cosmic infancy, was being asked to help leave a civilization spanning millions of years and countless species. The responsibility was enormous, almost overwhelming. But as she looked out at Earth, at the ships working together to heal the wounds of battle, Elena felt a surge of determination. This was humanity's strength, facing the unknown, adapting to impossible situations, and coming out stronger on the other side. We have a lot to learn, Elena said finally, but we also have a lot to offer. If the galaxy thinks we're ready for this responsibility, then we'll do our best to live up to it. Jor's scales shimmered with approval. I believe you will, Captain. Your species has shown a remarkable ability to unite in the face of adversity, to find innovative solutions where others see only obstacles. These are qualities our galaxy sorely needs. As they stood there, watching the bustling activity around Earth, Elena's mind raced with the possibilities ahead. Humanity had entered the galactic stage as newcomers, untested and viewed with skepticism by many. They were emerging from this crucible not just as equals, but as leaders, their potential recognized and celebrated across the stars. The challenges ahead were daunting. Integrating the transformed Zephyrians, rebuilding devastated worlds, forging the new and more united galactic community. These were tasks that would take generations to complete. But Elena felt confident that humanity was ready for the task. They had faced extinction and emerged victorious. They had taken an implacable enemy and transformed them into potential allies. They had shown the galaxy the power of determination, innovation, and the unbreakable human spirit. As the first teams of transformed Zephyrians arrived to assist with Earth's recovery, as diplomatic envoys prepared to depart for distant worlds, as scientists eagerly delved into new realms of possibility, Elena felt a sense of profound optimism. The road ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges they couldn't yet imagine. But humanity had proven that they were capable of facing any obstacle, of finding hope in the darkest of times. They had shown the galaxy why you should never, ever count humans out. And in doing so, they had not just saved themselves, but had opened the door to a brighter future for all sentient beings. A future where cooperation trumped conflict, where diversity was celebrated as a strength, and where the indomitable spirit of humanity could help guide the galaxy towards a new era of peace and discovery. As Elena turned away from the viewport, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, she carried with her the lessons of their victory. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their weapons, but in their spirit, their ability to hope, to persevere, and to inspire others to greatness. The galaxy had asked, "Why don't we kill humans?" And humanity had answered, not with words, but with actions that would echo across the cosmos for eons to come. The next chapter of galactic history was about to be written, and humanity, against all odds, would be holding the pen.